Hello and welcome back to the International Baccalaureate Show. Back at it again to talk about conscience or Jiminy Cricket in the mind of each individual and what it has to do with your survival. Why is it important to each individual? I'm Grayson. I'm introing, and the next person is.
Hello, I am Donnie. Gonna talk about consciousness, and we're probably gonna stutter saying consciousness a lot because we can't speak English.
This is Omari speaking for himself because I say consciousness perfectly fine.
Okay, whatever.
This is Caleb. I'm here. Yeah. Just let y'all know.
Okay, so which are we talking about? Consciousness or conscience? They're two different things.
What's the difference?
How are we defining
Consciousness is me being awake right now in the
Ah.
philosophical consciousness portion. Then there's conscience, which is Jiminy Cricket, what tells me what to do based on my sympathetic thoughts and
So
empathetic thoughts
they go
relating to
they go
mirror
hand in
neurons.
hand.
So
Yeah, they
like
do, but we have to make sure that
morality versus what I'm thinking is subconscious. I don't know. Like basically what tells you what to do. I guess that's more like morality, and then consciousness itself could be like
Woke.
you woke.
Hashtag
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
we're
you
talking
woke.
about
at the same time, like,
subconscious
but
thoughts.
Most,
So are
most
we-
people refer to a conscience as consciousness. So it's
Subconscious thoughts, that's what we're going to say.
Subconscious thoughts then.
bad.
Yeah. All right, that's what we'll call it, and then we'll call overall consciousness something else. So Jiminy Cricket is telling me not to kill Omari or eat his heart. And, like,
Dang, you really just went there.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But if my Jiminy Cricket, like, is altered, maybe I have a different perspective. But what is the purpose of my boy telling me not to do crimes?
Well, I would say just because it's like due to the repercussions that it would have. Like especially in early human society, like we're a very social species, and so by killing your friend, you're kind of hurting yourself because no one's really going to want to associate with you afterwards because you just killed somebody. So, I don't know. I feel like if you don't kill people, then you have more benefits than actually killing them.
Yeah, I think it's like a biological self-defense or self-preservation system, if you will. Because I kind of have like this whole dealio where I feel like the brain is a separate entity that lets like you as a human control the body for a while unless you do some stupid crap. Like for example, when you put your hand near a hot stove, your brain naturally just makes you yank back whether you want to. Well, unless you overpower it, obviously. But like, for the most part, it's an instant reaction to pull back. And I feel like the consciousness is your brain attempting to preserve your life or make it better in any way that it can.
So basically self-preservation, making sure that you don't do anything that's going to harm yourself so that you can just keep living as long as possible to do the basic needs as any animal would.
Si, senor.
But but it could be wrong.
That's
Like-
true.
Like I could, if I kill Omari, eat his heart, well then maybe I get superpowers. I mean,
Wait,
probably
what?
not.
Wait, how did you
Probably
reach that
not.
conclusion?
I
Well,
mean-
eating someone's heart seems like a very unnatural thing to do.
Yeah, I mean,
So what you're saying is perhaps we don't know that there could be benefits of these things just because
Yeah.
like our subconscious won't
Well,
let
also,
us.
like, is it based off of knowledge? Is it connected to the brain and where it's based off of memory? So are my decisions to not kill Omari?
based on
no.
prior experiences.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think
So-
in terms of your conscious.
Hold
I
on,
don't
hold
think
on.
So.
I think we talked about this like in philosophy. So like say someone was born with no senses. So like how do they get memories? Like they don't. So like what does their subconscious tell them to do if they have nothing to go off of?
Well,
Yeah,
also,
what do
what if someone's just born? Could they kill?
Yeah, that's why
Like a
I don't think the conscious learns or from memory. I think it is something odd implemented within like the human brain that you know how like there are basic human rights that everyone should have.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the consciousness only knows the bare bones of right and wrong. Like it doesn't.
So you're saying a baby would know right from wrong?
Yeah, but not like within its own society. It knows like the basics of right. Like for example, like taking away someone's natural rights is kind of something I feel like is universal. Like you are aware if that's universally
So
wrong.
say a fetus baby, like freaking went and killed somebody, if possible. just say a fetus baby went and killed somebody,
Mhm.
would it know that that was wrong or right?
See, I think possibly, but at the same time, like we wouldn't know because we can't really communicate with the fetus, obviously, and also the fact that like I feel like their brains just wouldn't hold the memory. Like even if they felt bad about it, they would forget within like 10 minutes because they're.
So you're saying the subconscious would tell them that it's right from
But
wrong,
they wouldn't be able to
like
process that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So then does it matter? Because like the subconscious only matters if we can. I think telling right from wrong really only matters if like we can apply it again. Because
That's fair.
if you have right and wrong and you have no memories of right and wrong, you're just gonna do the same things over and I don't know.
Yes,
Like,
that's what like it's like
I
its
can't
purpose
remember
is
it.
its purpose is relative.
So, well, the issue with like right and wrong, like the only way that you know right and wrong is from your interactions, from like surrounding you with who you interact with, what you do, how you've been raised, the environment that you've known your life.
That's what I was asking Omari about though. He said like, didn't you say right from wrong would just be like you'd know it from birth?
Yeah, but like literally only the bare bones of right and wrong.
So
like,
survival.
And then that's where the memories can come in,
Yes.
I guess.
There are specific neurons used for sympathetic and empathetic thoughts. They're mirror neurons, and they're used in survival with specific animals. So it's the reason, like, people don't want to kill some things, and other things they do, like why people don't want to kill bunnies.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, some people do want to kill bunnies, but like I feel like the original thought wasn't to
yeah, I
kill
get
a
what
fluff
you mean.
ball. It
But I
was
feel
to-
like that ties back into like our own biology of what we find cute, like things that have disproportionately large heads. So like just like picture this, like a little baby kitten, the size of its head is like half the size of its body, right? It's got a pretty big head compared to its body. But as it grows up into a cat, its head stays about the same, right? Like when we're born, our heads are, more or less, they're still small, but they don't get as big as our bodies do. Like they don't grow that exponentially. You know what I mean? So as we grow up, like the height of our head, like our overall height in terms of our head kind of determines how quote unquote like cute we are. So I feel like the little bunny example is just like another thing of that. Like you don't want to kill a kitty or you don't want to kill like a bunny or something like that. I don't know. Just because I feel like that's another biological thing.
Mm-hmm.
But that also is the subconscious again, I feel like.
Okay, should we listen to our subconscious? Like, should we
See,
pay attention at all?
that's why I think certainly. It's where like how I said I kind of feel as though like the brain is a separate entity as opposed to like the human body or whatever. I mean, because the brain doesn't always have the best judgment of the situation. Like for example, I use the hand near a hot stove situation. What if in the situation you were told to touch a hot stove or your wife dies? Then the right thing to do in that situation would be to touch the stove, even if in that moment your brain might cause you to pull away. Like it wouldn't be completely aware of the situation. So
Well-
I think it would be up to you to decide.
I mean, is saving your wife really the right thing to do?
Oh my gosh. No, but then like
For most, yes.
that comes into like the other definition of consciousness though, because we're talking about like the subconscious, like that immediate like right or wrong or that very basic feeling of what's going on. So then the other type of consciousness that we were discussing, like being woke or being awake, like the more deep thinking that you have, that's where that logic comes into play of like, okay, they're going to kill my wife, so I should probably go touch this hot stove. Or in Grayson's case, they're going to kill my wife, so I don't want to burn my hand, so I don't touch this stove.
So in essence,
So-
you're proposing that the conscious and the consciousness have to, you have to decide between which one to listen to in a situation.
I suppose. But sometimes you're not given a choice. Like,
Yeah.
again, with the hot stove situation, if it's just something where you didn't even realize you were touching the stove until you do, and then your subconscious is like, whoa, let's get out of here. And then, like, you're not given the option of making that decision.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the subconscious can come in, is like split-second stuff.
Those moments where, like if someone throws a baseball at you, you catch it out the corner of your eye, your hand just flies up and catches the ball, even
Yeah.
though you didn't really like have a chance to react to it. It's instant, and you didn't have a choice of whether or not you wanted to react to it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so would you prefer to have subconscious or just conscience? Like, if you could
Ooh.
only get one, you get
I'd-
consciousness, like the woke, or the subconsciousness.
Well, there's a lot of, like, pluses
Ooh,
and
yeah, that's
minuses, I guess, to that. That's like, okay, So without a subconscious, like in any like day-to-day situation, that'd be so weird. Like,
There's a similar thing kind of to that. I believe it's like time placement displaced, yeah, or I don't know. It's this thing where like your brain has zero concept of time literally. So like you feel like if a second passes, you feel like it's been an hour, or if an hour has passed, it feels like a second to you. So it affects your memories and it affects even your emotions as well. Like you can literally just stop feeling. An example of that was in the show Stitchers or whatever, but like she like didn't have emotions, and again she didn't have a sense of time, so it really messed up like a lot of things. And so like not having any emotions, I think, is worth losing only in the sense that other humans could interact with you, and if they're willing to like interact with you, I think you would work without them,
without consciousness?
without emotion, like without the thing that would give you the emotions. Without the
Well,
consciousness.
then which one would give you the emotions?
I think the
Subconscious?
subconscious.
What do you guys think?
Well,
What gives you the emotions then?
I
Subconscious
think
or
I
conscious?
think they both do, but subconscious gives you like the bare bones with the human nature stuff, and I think consciousness gives you the emotions from social, like society, like
Well,
the things that you learn.
I'd say subconscious is more quick things.
Yeah.
Laughter, happiness. It's quick. Anger. It's not something that lasts for a long time. And then you have like conscious thoughts, which is memory based, and it's like hatred and love
Well,
and sadness.
I
I'd say
don't-
those are more.
But like, do memories inherently carry an emotion with them? Like,
For sure.
Mhm.
well,
Yes,
hold on,
I
hold
would
on,
say
hold on.
yes.
That maybe let me rephrase that. If I think of something right outside of the context of what I felt in that moment, do you still have an emotion? So like without the subconscious, would you still have emotions at all? Because the only way to feel emotions, like you said, is through that quick thinking, right? You know, like you don't immediately hate someone just because of a memory you have of them.
Yeah,
like,
I
feel
get what
like
you're
I feel
saying.
like that's not.
It's like you would have to feel something in that moment to
Yeah.
remember feeling something
So like
in that moment.
somebody murders your wife, if we're going back to the hot
Yeah,
stove.
you're gonna
thing,
be angry in that moment.
in exactly in
So
that
when you
moment,
remember it,
and
you'll-
then you get the hatred. But like
exactly.
like when somebody tells me about like, okay, but maybe like if somebody tells me about the Holocaust, I immediately hate all of the Nazis who did it, but I obviously wasn't a part of that. But is that part of the subconscious then? Like, is that an immediate reaction? Like
see-
they say millions of people died, and so my subconscious is like, oh, I hate them, or do I have to think about it? I don't know.
I think you'd have to think about it.
Yeah, I think if it's
'cause-
not a personal relation, it's something you have to think about.
Yeah, because that's like a deeper emotion. Like you're being told something, so you have to consciously think about that something, like the Holocaust. You have to think about, wow, all these people, however many millions, whatever, they died. Like those were real life people that had, like, doing real life things, and they are dead now. They're gone. If you didn't have the ability to think about that logically, you would just see it as maybe in a subconscious thought or a self-preservation thought. Oh, that's less people to harm me, which
That's
is
crazy.
dark.
Well, also, yeah, but you also wouldn't. I feel like you would not care. Well, I don't know this person, so like hearing the name, like wouldn't cause an immediate reaction. Then you had to
Yes.
think about that. So like if it didn't cause the immediate reaction, then without the subconscious, you would be like, well, I don't know them, so I don't care.
Yeah.
So they have no interaction on my life.
So then, like, what about? Okay, so we've established that you have to think about it a little bit, right? But I feel like it's also almost in the same way as, like, blind people. You can't describe to them a color, or you
Yes.
can't describe what sight is like. So if you didn't have that subconscious, would you still like? Because I hate certain things, or
Yes.
because I love certain things, I've experienced liking something before, and I've experienced disliking something before, and obviously with conscious thought of, like we were just talking about, over time you begin to hate or love certain things. So like if we didn't have the subconscious to provide us with base emotions, could we still feel those complex
Yeah,
ones?
I don't think so, because you'd have to have the base to build off of. You know, like there's like and then there's love. You know, you can't. I don't think you can't have love without like. Like they have to build off of each other, and if you don't have the instant emotions, you can't have the complex emotions. You can't have the long-lasting emotions without having the short ones.
Because like you can still decide what's right and wrong with logic, like with the wokeness or whatever. Like say you get rid of all subconscious thought, and somebody tells you, okay, some million people died in the Holocaust, and then you say, let me think about that. Okay, that's wrong.
Yeah.
But do you still feel I hate them? Like I hate the Nazis
I
that
don't
did
think
that.
so. I think you're just aware that it's wrong. Like for like if starving children, like logically, you could be like, there's not we have 2 food. There are 5 people. Only 2 people can get food. There's 3 people that are now hungry. That's not good. You know, like you wouldn't really feel anything, but you're aware that it's a problem.
Yeah.
So are we saying that right and wrong is different from emotional connection? So you can recognize that the Holocaust is wrong or people starving is wrong, but you don't attach that emotional connection like this is sad or this is outrageous. How could this happen? So it's more of like a very logical, like almost sense of code maybe, where this isn't working out. We need to fix this, or it's just not right, compared to I feel something, like I feel an emotional connection, like I'm saddened by this, which is difficult to express in like a simple term.
I think something that goes along with this is a car crash. When you hear about a car crash on the news, it's an inconvenience. You move out of the way. You feel some like short-term emotion, oh, someone was injured, but after that it's just like, well, what can I do to get around this? And then it's different when you are at the car crash. Like you witness the car crash, your immediate emotions, like your subconscious takes over, and your immediate emotions are, wow, this is really sad, I need to stop. Like you're in shock almost. It's very different than hearing about it and not experiencing it. So like not experiencing hunger, I wouldn't be as sad as someone who has.
Yes.
So someone who knows hunger knows what it's like, and then they can be sad about children starving in Africa, way more sad than I would be.
That's
not
true.
being in the same situation.
Yeah, it almost seems like it's a necessity for emotion to be attached to memories for them to carry much of any weight.
Because like you have to relate to something in order to feel emotions about it. I feel like like we keep going back to memories, but I think what we're really discussing is like someone telling you something. Because if you have a memory of an event, you were there. So I think when talking about the Holocaust, maybe not memories, but like just someone telling you. Like somebody's doing a lesson on the Holocaust, they're like, so and so many people died. You're like, okay, that's really bad, and the Nazis were terrible people.
I think that's where consciousness would apply, not the sub, but the complex.
And then for the car crash example, because you say you didn't see it, right? And you're on the news, oh, you're on I-4, giant car crash, like 20 people died. Whoa, big pile up. You're like, oh, well, I'm not going on I-4 this morning or wherever I'm going. Like, you don't want to go on that. But say you were there and you see this crash and you see how, like, horrific it was. You're like, wow, all these people died. And you say people and you start to relate to the person who was there. And you learn their names and you see the people who are there, like, who are mourning now. And I think that adds, like, a layer of relatability. And so it becomes part of your memory, which becomes part of that initial emotion that you had at the situation. And then again, as you think about it more and more, that consciousness adds from like the base emotion of sad to like depressing or I don't know, certain things like that.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the car crash example. I was thinking, you know, let's say like we're hearing about it on the news, and you know that you have to drive on I-4. If there's a big crash on I-4, that's now an inconvenience. If your thought, I'm not gonna say first to last yet. Just if your thought is something along the lines of, that sucks, I really need to drive an I-4 today. Now this is gonna slow me down. Is that sub or is that consciousness? Like, is that subconscious or is that subconsciousness?
That's a good question. I would say
because it's a thought that comes pretty
subconscious.
fast.
Yeah, it comes pretty fast. I'd say I don't know. I mean, both of them come pretty fast.
Well,
you're upset, but you're also at the same time, wow, that's annoying.
But are you really upset? Like if somebody says there's been a car crash and you don't know anything about it, are you actually ever upset? Like it's kind of just like I don't want to go on that road.
Here's what I was thinking.
Like not to be immoral. I'm just
that
that's
makes
just
sense.
how it is.
I think it's more. I think it relates to the self-preservation thing. I mean, like you're talking about how someone tells you something, you don't have so much connection to it. I think the lack of connection, and then I feel like because it's the quick one, most of your thoughts are gonna have to go through the subconscious before the consciousness, and I think it's a subconscious thought, but only in the sense that you have no connection to this. It's almost as if your consciousness doesn't have much of a way to process this thing because you have little to no connection to it.
Well, you don't have any connection, so it just comes back to you.
Yeah.
And so you're
and then
annoyed.
self-preservation. Exactly.
Yeah.
I think it comes
makes
back
sense.
around full circle to self-preservation in the sense that because I have no it's just like, okay, how does this affect me?
Yeah.
Because I don't know how it affects others.
Because you don't have any connection, so your subconscious is like, okay, I don't have any context for this.
Yes.
So might as well put it in the context of me. Okay. I think that makes sense. I don't know.
That was a good conclusion. You both said it at the same time. It felt nice.
Okay.
Me.
Me.
Yeah. That was good.
That's interesting, though.
Okay. Onward, I guess.
I said, wait, is that like? I feel like that's a concrete.
Did we reach a good conclusion? Okay,
That
well,
is
hold on.
pretty
Let's
Not even that.
concrete.
No, I think that's a concrete, like, debate, if you will. It's a concrete argument for the fact that humans are innately selfish.
Ooh.
Because we don't have any other, like,
Yeah.
in situations where we don't have any context for anything, we just put it in context of ourselves.
Selves, yeah.
Ooh, this brings up a stem that I was
Okay.
hoping we'd get to. So is the conscience human? Now, this is kind of a weird thought. It's more of a theoretical thought. So the people believe in ideas like the Matrix. Maybe we're all in a simulation. Now, what if the conscience was a parasite, a parasitical like entity within the body, to where it worries only about self-preservation? So the first initial reaction is self-preservation, and that explains why it's only concerned with containing the host, like keeping the host alive. I mean, the brain could be considered that parasite, but brains are present in other objects, and some objects can have brains but no sympathetic thoughts or empathetic
Yes.
thoughts to relate to.
No, I get what you're saying. Like, even like, for example, think of Venom, like Spider-Man, the Venom. The symbiote, it looks for a host because without a host, it's way too easy to kill. It can easily be eliminated without a host.
That's like every parasite, yeah.
Yeah, so it looks for a host to defend itself, and then once it gets comfortable in a host, like it's not as deep into self-preservation mode. It looks to do other things.
But it's also concerned for its
Yeah,
host. So
it's like
Because
now that
the
I
host
feel
is it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More than now that I feel comfortable, I feel like I can do other things. But when I get to a moment where I feel threatened again, it's back to self-preservation. It's back to self-preservation.
So then, how about we put this idea in the context of what we were discussing before? You have like the wokeness or whatever, and then you have the subconscious. So, if consciousness is a parasite, right? I feel like it lends itself to being more of the subconscious. That initial reaction, like, ooh, protect myself. I don't know, but maybe complex thought is helpful to it in a way, because without complex thought, you could die just as easily.
Yeah. See, I think they have, like I said, I think they have to go hand in hand because, like, with the example with the hot stove and your wife dying, you need both to be able to decide.
That makes sense.
There's instant and then there's actual processing. So I feel like every experience in your life is, imagine kind of like an assembly line, if you will. It goes down the assembly line. It has to first pass through the subconscious section of the assembly line, which then gives a report, and then it has to pass through the consciousness, which then gives a report. And then you have to look at kind of both reports and kind of decide what to do with them, if you will.
That makes sense.
Okay, I know this is kind of off topic,
As always.
as always. Tourette's, is that subconscious actions, or like sporadic spasms? And would it be subconscious, or would it just be like the body?
I feel like Tourette's is a good example of what happens if the assembly line breaks and, like, it doesn't make it to consciousness.
Same
It
with,
goes
like,
through subconscious. It
Oh,
comes
it
out.
just
Same
comes
with
out,
like
like, yeah.
ADHD.
Without a filter, but
Exactly.
yeah.
Like Luis, if anyone's listening, Luis, shout out Luis. He's kind of crazy sometimes, but like, and I feel like maybe it is just a part of the subconscious, like acting out. But like, I have some ADHD myself, and it mostly, I'm not as like spastic.
Yeah,
Like, it's
I
not
get what you're
physical for me. It's more worrying.
I think-
Like, I worry a lot about things, like just in general. And so I wonder if that's an example of the ADHD affecting my quote-unquote wokeness, because I'll sit there and I'll think about something
Yeah.
forever and
I
I'll
feel
worry.
like in the two different examples, it would be like for you, it'd be like it's as if the consciousness and the subconscious switch positions. So it goes through consciousness first, but because consciousness has to take a longer time to begin with, it's almost as if it sits there too long before even getting to subconscious.
That can
And
make
then,
sense.
like for Luis, it's as if the machine breaks before getting to consciousness. So it goes through subconscious and spits it out, like kind of like, I don't know, like if you have a broken paper shredder, it doesn't shred the paper entirely. Like it doesn't go all the way through the process.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So would then the having like the wokeness or conscious thoughts like be just like restriction, like holding you back from these impulses that you would normally have?
Yeah, I think consciousness would be like your reasoning, kind of. That's your reasoning.
So then instead of an assembly line, because if it was in a linear assembly line manner, you would. Well, okay.
That's
never
more of a
mind.
down to earth
Yeah.
example. Like it can definitely
Yeah,
be
never
explained.
Okay,
mind. I don't know.
are we saying that quiet people like are super analytical? Like all quiet people have to
Well-
be analytical with what they're saying.
That's true. Because
Because
maybe
it's
Dude.
all left to their minds, and
I mean,
it's that
and
stage.
maybe
in the-
it's not even analytical because I think saying analytical implies that they actually think about these thoughts. I mean, a shy person could just have the thoughts get stuck, like they could not think about it; they just get stuck in consciousness.
Patrick Star.
You know, like imagine I don't know. Imagine someone gave you a thought in a different language and you never translated it. That could be a shy person.
Oh, but like you keep it like
like you,
the
yeah,
thought.
like the
is
thought is there,
oh.
but you never translated it, so
Oh,
you
that's
can't
kinda like-
think about it because you didn't translate
It's
it.
kind of like when you wake up in the morning and then you get that dream, and you're like, "Wow, that dream was amazing." And then you're eating
like, I
breakfast,
don't
and
know
you're
what
like,
happened in
"What
that dream."
happened in the
Yeah.
dream?"
Yeah.
Like your
Ex-
breakfast is
that
always
makes
just
sense.
like,
So then dreams, what are they? I'd say probably subconscious because of how wild they can be.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just like,
I can actually talk about a dream I had today.
did you?
Yeah,
That's analyzed.
yeah. Let's
Yeah.
analyze. Okay, so I was
Dream podcast.
I was outside in my front yard.
This
And-
is in the dream?
Yes, this is
Okay,
in the
I
dream.
thought you were just like camping in
No.
your front
I
yard.
mean,
Okay,
Grayson
all
is a
right.
dream, but
Okay.
Uh,
So I was sitting there,
Alright.
like, I don't know, like trying to go to sleep or something. I can't remember. I was camping and I was trying to sleep in my dream. And I look over and I see something and I'm like, ooh, a puppy. I go chase down this puppy. It's a bear. And then I look up from the bear and there's the swim team. And I have no idea what was going on. And the
What?
bear ran up to the swim team. And that was the end of my dream.
yeah, I feel like
That's cool though.
yeah, I feel like
'Cause-
that's kind of like what happens if your consciousness didn't exist. Like if your consciousness didn't translate anything that went
because
through, like,
it's all memories.
yeah, you just get spit.
like
spit.
recently I've been having more dreams just because of the swim team. I'm so tired. I've realized if you don't use your phone before you go to sleep, I swear you have dream or you can remember your dreams every time. Like I don't know, like if I don't use my phone, I'll fall asleep, I'll sleep good, wake up, and I'll remember my dream. So like recently, just because I've been having more, like my dreams pertain to things that happened to me, but only vaguely. Right, like
Yeah.
I'll hear a song during the day, and I don't know I'll hear that song, but then I'll have a dream, and in the dream there'll be a song, or maybe a song's not a good example, because like I don't remember having any audio in my dreams, like it's all visual. But
Ooh,
I
digress.
Anyways, I hear that song, and then I wake up, and I remember earlier that day, I had heard that song, and so that's why it's in my dream. But like, there's no audio in dreams, or is there? Are there audio in dreams?
See, that's what I was gonna segue into.
I don't know.
So here, what if dreaming is you're watching your files get deleted in the sense that like go back to the assembly line.
I wouldn't say deleted. I'd say organized.
Or maybe because like go
Because
back
I
to
still
if you
remember
go
the
back,
bear.
If you go back to like the assembly
He
line,
still remembers the bear.
like every machine doesn't work perfectly. What if like dreams are kind of like these are the thoughts that got stuck and they switch? It's kind of like this is what got stuck in subconscious. Those are the quicker thoughts. That's maybe like why you wouldn't remember audio.
that actually
because
makes sense.
Maybe that segment of the dream is where the subconscious was spitting out.
Okay.
And
Well-
then where the consciousness is spitting out, you have that's the part of the dreams you remember because they last longer there.
So it's like when they have the people on the side of the assembly lines, and there's something they need to inspect, but they can't inspect it right now. They need to inspect it later, so they take it
because
for
if
re-inspection.
because if they inspected it right then, they'd break it. They'd
Yeah,
break the assembly line.
exactly.
Yeah, they'd break the line, so they'd stop progress. So they just they let it keep going,
Oh.
and they analyze it later.
And so
Yeah.
when we go to sleep, the machine stops.
Yeah.
Or it's more specifically, our senses stop, so we
because,
can't get
because
any,
there's no more sense perception.
no more memories
there's
coming in.
there's nothing left really to process, so that it can take that time to analyze what it maybe missed throughout the day.
Well, we just like broke down dreaming, and I feel
That's
great
cool.
about it.
That's really interesting. I don't know. So then dreams are just like all of the poor assembly line workers just gathering around looking at all their broken parts, trying to put them
Yeah.
into filing cabinets.
That's great.
That's kind of interesting. But yeah. And like I was saying before, like I've noticed my dreams are pertaining more and more to things around me.
Mm-hmm.
So then like I don't know, I just think that's interesting. Like I don't know.
Maybe
I don't know.
Maybe it
It's-
depends on like what you like. Maybe like you said, you feel like you think more about things. Maybe it's because you use your consciousness more, and because of that, your consciousness gets jammed up more. So you might have more thoughts relative to consciousness, which means that those are those thoughts that last longer. So they're easier to remember in dreams because they're the more thought out thoughts to begin with.
Interesting.
You know.
Interesting.
I will always think of my mind as an assembly line now.
Yeah,
It just makes me happy.
It's a whole bunch of mini people.
Yeah, it's like SpongeBob.
SpongeBob,
but,
that was
yeah,
a good
with
episode
an
of
assembly
SpongeBob.
line.
Except during like tests or whatever, it's that episode where they're all sprinting around like, where is the wait? What were they looking for?
I don't know. They were looking for a file, and everything was just on fire.
Oh, he's like,
Oh.
what is our name? What is our name?
This is so good.
And then he's like sprinting around his mind trying to find it. He's like, we lost his name. Oh, okay. That was probably really cringy. I don't know. It's funny though.
doesn't matter.
SpongeBob's amazing.
SpongeBob predicted our podcast.
SpongeBob goes to anything. I mean, you could relate SpongeBob to everything.
We should do an episode on SpongeBob.
We should.
That would be pretty cool. Yeah.
So basically, in this last 10, 15 minutes, we've decided that dreaming and how the mind works is just simply an assembly line where we think about things, and then if we can't truly understand it at that point in time, because we have to continue working on whatever other things that we have to work on, then we save that to our subconscious thought where we dream about that, because we can't use our conscious thought process and reasoning to analyze other things.
Yeah.
So it just kind of gets put on the back burner until we're able to think about it, because we're not thinking about other things.
I mean, it would get put on the back burner, but not necessarily in the subconscious thought, because they have to keep working too. It kind of just gets put on the side later. Maybe like a dream bucket.
They pull it off the assembly
They
line.
call it the dream bucket. They just throw everything in the dream bucket.
the dream bucket.
The dream bucket.
I mean, maybe that's why it's so random. Like how he said he went from like a puppy to a bear to a swim team, because it's just a bucket that gets all dumped.
Well, I'm wondering if there's like any symbolism there. Like, does your mind like put symbolism there? Because, okay, this is interesting. So, this is really off topic. That's not off topic. Okay, picture a dragon. Okay, what aspects do a dragon have, or what aspects do dragons have?
You know, scaly
Scales.
skin,
Scales.
wings,
Okay, scales, wings.
fire
what else?
breathing, tails.
Fire
Well, they
breathing.
don't all have to have fire breathing.
Hold on.
That's fair.
And then what's on their head?
We're like in general.
Do they have like they've
Horns?
got like a beak and teeth? You know what I mean? Like they've got like a snout with
yeah,
teeth.
snout.
Okay.
Go with snout.
So, early in human evolution, our main predators are birds. Okay, little monkeys get picked up by birds and they get eaten. Okay, so we've got wings. Hold on. We've got wings. Now what? Snakes. We've got scales. Okay.
The poison.
Fire. Fire is
Fire.
inherently good and bad, but you know it
Fire
can be
burn.
hurtful.
And if they exist,
what
dinosaurs.
Was the last thing?
Like
a
for
tail.
example, scaly skin.
Did we do a tail?
Yeah, tails and
Okay,
scaly
so
skin. I mean dinosaurs.
A tail can be like a jaguar or a leopard in the jungle, and they can pick you up and eat you. Do you see what I'm saying? Like I
Yes.
saw this in a video, and it just made so much sense because dragons are like cultural aspects.
They're
all
always
over the world.
They're always seen as enemies or greater than humans.
and not even that, they're just everywhere. Like in every
Yeah.
culture,
In
all
almost
over the world,
in almost
it's
every
everywhere.
interpretation of them are pretty
Yeah,
similar, relatively
exactly.
similar.
So what I think is interesting about that is like our mind or the subconscious, right, has put together this like ultimate creature.
I think that would be the consciousness.
I don't think consciousness. I
Because
don't think
you think-
someone had to sit down and think about it, because if they did,
You're
I
right.
think, I
It's just
think,
fear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you think like you put all this together and then you come out with like this homunculus and it's like this
Or maybe
a dragon.
Maybe that imagery
Kinda like
is an example
vampires.
of maybe that imagery
Yeah.
is of the example of them working together. Like the subconscious just made the pieces and the consciousness put them together.
Like
Exactly.
vampires would be, tribe versus tribe. Well, we saw our tribe eating our people.
Exactly.
We saw this tribe
And
eating our
that's-
people,
and
and
that's
it's like,
inherently
what?
scary. But
Yeah.
then to bring, like I said, to bring this back to my
Cannibalism,
dreams,
yeah.
what I'm wondering is, do our dreams, like, are they able to do that symbolism while you're sleeping? So say for like a bear, I don't know what that could like mean or something, but when it immediately switches into the swim team, I just find that kind of interesting. Like I don't know what that could mean. Maybe Grayson's thinking about weird. Maybe all of the people on the swim team are bears. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe
I have
he
no
feels like
idea.
the swim team is bearing down on his life.
Oh.
Maybe this is a
Yep.
question to leave our listeners with.
Yeah,
What do your dreams symbolize? I don't know.
All right, sounds good. It's kind of a short podcast today, but it was a good talk. I highly enjoyed it. Any other final comments or statements?
Yeah, season 2.
Season 2.
Season 2. So we're episode 2 in season 2. We're already here, but it's good to be back. I'm so happy that we are back.
Back in
Just
action, baby.
feels good.
We miss this. It's always fun sitting down, recording, talking about random things.
Especially this time, it was kind of open mic. I really enjoyed it. It wasn't really argument debatable. It was pretty nice, but it was just a good discussion.
And with that, Omari is signing off. Deuces.
All
Oh,
right.
Lord.
Yeah.
Adios.
Adios.
Goodbye.